Hello racers, welcome back, and today we will be talking about Count Dooku Virgin's Temple, the deck I took to Malmo Open. So let's talk about the deck list, the openings, and the rest of the deck. So first of a table of contact. First we will be looking at the deck list. Then we will go through the best openings, what card you should look forward to in the opening hand. Third, we will look at some simple combos that the deck can perform. Lastly, we will look at my run at Malmo Open. We will talk about some matches and some matchups for the deck. And lastly, we will talk about the Patreon and what's going up there. Okay, so let's go for the deck list. So, Count Dooku, a leader that was underestimated for forever. He deploys on 7. His ability is that he can give a separatist unit exploit 1. And I've combined him with Virgin's Temple, a new base for Legends of the Force that gives you the Force at the beginning of the round if you have at least one unit with 4 or more HP. So what does it mean? You are looking to start with a 4 HP unit to have the Force. Your Force benefits in the deck are the most popular one. So you have Chirrut, Tyrannus, and Talzin Assassin. And one card that is not used anywhere in Darth Sidious. And this is the main reason to have the base. And of course, we also run Caris. She is like the backbone of the early game. A few notable cards in the deck list are Client. This is the card that is not synergizing with the Force, but since we are playing 25 HP base, we need something to restore the life, especially versus decks that will just try to push damage. And since this deck is really heavily focused on removing everything your opponent plays, Client fits perfectly because you can use Bounty and you will almost guarantee that you will be able to kill the unit that the bounty was put on. The second card that may seem unusual is Devotion. Devotion is here for the same reason, and even more because now in the meta we have a lot of space decks. Space deck that doesn't really interact with us. So going into double restore, so for example Owen plus Devotion, and just racing them and preventing them to push damage is the best way to beat those decks. And that's why those cards are in the main board, because in current meta we encounter them enough to merit having few cards versus them in the main board. Additional cards that are not often seen is Count Dooku. Count Dooku is a separatist, so he is much better here than in any other blue villainous deck. We can play him for 5, and his ability to destroy 4 HP unit is much more relevant in this meta than it was before because of all the 2/4 units, Ki-Adi-Mundi being 4/4, so he has a lot of targets. And of course, we are finishing the deck with removal, so we have Power of the Dark Side, Overwhelming Barrage, and Craving Power. Since our deck is mostly focused on building the board and preventing your opponent, those cards are really great to just completely stop your opponents from playing. And then lastly, Avenger, that is just still, I think, the best endgame card that you have access to, because it's a constant threat of removal. Okay, so let's go talk about the openings. So we have 3 cards that we are looking for in the openings, and Owen is the last one. With Owen, we will most likely be exploiting him immediately to play the other cards, because he doesn't give us the Force, but Carries, Poggle, and Warrior are cards we are looking for to start. By far, the strongest opening versus most decks is Carries. The fact that she also allows us for some crazy combos that we will talk later, but even on her own, she gives us the force. She utilizes the force and has the best stats. A Warrior Drone, a lot of people may say, why are we playing this card? The fact that he is a 1/4 doesn't really matter that much, because the biggest factor we are looking at turn 1 is to have a 4 HP unit, and the fact that he is a separatist is a big deal, because then we have access to Droid Commando, which in previous meta he was not as good, but since now almost every single deck plays a 2/4 unit, even on turn 1 and turn 2, because Yoda is still playable, the fact that he can trade up is a really, really big deal. Poggle. Poggle is great when you're playing versus decks that have removal. Every single hard control, this is the card that you're looking for. His ability to constantly create units is what we want to do, especially that this deck doesn't really want to push damage early. If you can, it's good, but the most important part for the deck is to get advantage early and never relinquish the control of the board, because we need to have advantage on the board to handle opponent leaders that come 2 turns early than ours. So turn 2, we can go 2 ways, 2 rounds. In here, I will talk about like the normal curving round, so playing Client, Super Laser, or Droid Commando. All of those cards are really, really good, and they shine in different situations. Client is the best versus aggressive decks that go into space. Droid Commando is great versus force decks, because he can stop them from getting the force, and Technician is just an overall good card. He's much better than in other villainous green cards decks, because we can exploit him, so he sometimes can generate as mana without really costing us anything. And we have Power of the Dark Side. It is crossed out because this is a card you should almost never play on turn 2. You need to get the board advantage without using it, because this card you should keep for removing threats that are above the curve. So if you manage to keep the board clean, you can use Power of the Dark Side to kill off the key targets of your opponent that was hard to remove otherwise, especially leaders. Next, let's talk about my favorite part of the deck, so the combo part. And there is actually one specific combo in the deck that makes this deck stands out, and it's interaction with carries and separatist cards that kill units depending on their remaining HP. So Count Dooku and Devastating Gunship both does not use the force, and their ability allows you to either turn 2 kill 2 units that have 2 HP, so you can attack carries into their 2-drop, then sacrifice her with exploit to play Devastating Gunship, and either destroy both units or destroy a unit that was that had 4 HP, and you have a 3/5 with Grid in space, which is an above curve stats for turn 2. With Count Dooku, it is on 5 resources, but killing a 6 HP threat while developing a 5/4 shielded can put you into extremely advantageous position. And lastly, interaction with Darth Tyrannus. So even though Darth Tyrannus require you to have the force to ambush, the interaction works in a way that you can play it, exploit carries, and even if you use carries ability first, Tyrannus, when he was on the board, already saw that you had the force, so you can ambush with it. So you can order it however you want. You can attack with Tyrannus first, then use carries, or use carries and then attack with Tyrannus. But this combination allows you to, most often than not, kill something with Tyrannus and then put a shield on him. And it can be done on turn 2, and you will still have 1 mana left, which can be used to play Warrior Drone on or Owen. So carries, that's why carries is the card that I not only look for when I mulligan, but I also really rarely remove her, like really rarely put her on as a resource, even later in the game, because of how good her synergy with the deck is. And next is the small combo, but it is the main reason to play the deck, at least in for me, is Darth Sidious. Paying 6 mana for a 6/8 Restore 2 would be good enough. It's almost unkillable without a hard removal, but his ability on 8 is not that good, but 2 turns before, and if you ramp on 5, can be game-breaking. If it kills even 1 unit, you will probably win the game. This is one of the cards that doesn't synergize with carries, because both of those cards need the force. But you can sacrifice almost anything. It will be an upgrade on every single unit in your deck. And that Restore 2 is a key in a lot of matchups to stabilize your HP, because 25 in this meta is hard to play, but we have enough Restore to manage that. Okay, so let's talk about the Malmo Open. It was an amazing tournament. I was lucky to be invited, so I'm really thankful for that. It was 7 rounds day 1, and then top 16 day 2. It was a 90-player tournament, so for a non-PQ-esque tournament, it's a really, really, really big attendance, and the prizes were, I think, even better than one should expect. So really kudos to the organizers. There was, for the whole event, there was a stream with really, really good casting, and I was on stream 2 times, so we will talk about it in a moment. So this was my run. I was almost undefeated day 1. So I was 5-0. My last 2 games, since it was top 16, I didn't really need to win. I could lose them both. I would still be in top 16. So in round 6, my opponent asked me to take a draw. I accepted. In round 7, we were asked to go on stream. So I said I don't want to take a draw because I want to be on stream. So the 2 games that I was on stream are game 1 versus Gar Saxon and game 7 versus Poe Datavolt. So let's go through the matchups and let's talk about what matchups are really good for the deck and what matchups are kind of hard. Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon is not an easy matchup. He can create board states that are really problematic, especially with ECL and Vader. But a lot of his units are hidden behind shields and are kind of low statted. So carries and assassin are a key cards that you are looking for to just remove everything that Gar Saxon plays, and then slowly but surely build a board big enough to so he will, even if he ECLs Vader and kills 2 of your stuff, you will have bigger things and cards to interact with it. Second game was versus Yoda Datavolt. This is the game that I lost game 1 and I had to climb back game 2 and game 3. This is a really, really hard matchup. This deck worst matchups are really greedy value decks or hard control decks. So Yoda, that is Yoda Green, that is on Data Vault, that can play Kelleran backs, home ones, Ewing Reinforcement, was a really hard matchup. But at the same time, Sidious was a key card for me to win because he was really hard to remove. And in game 2 and game 3, I've managed to create enough of an advantage that Yoda Flip was not able to bring him back into the game. Round 3 was Tiles in Red. This is actually, for me, my easiest matchup. And that's with an asterisk because this deck doesn't have auto-win matchups. Even Talzin, that is, for me, an easy matchup because a lot of her turn 1 and turn 2 are really weak, and I can dominate them with Dooku turn 2, Karis, or Devastating Gunships. Those are the key cards you are looking for. She can, if she puts a lightsaber on Karis and just starts racing, you can lose, but in this case, I've managed to surprise my opponents with few cards that are not as obvious. Like, this was one of the big advantages for me because nobody knew what I'm playing. So not many people remember that Sidious exists. And when you play him for the first time, they don't play around that 3 HP threshold. And next, it was Han, Worth the Risk, Blue. Han, for me, and in testing, was actually not hard. You can lose if he focuses into discarding your hand, because unless you go Owen, you don't really have a lot of card draw. But they have a really big problem removing your big units, and everything in this deck trades up with a 2/4 or 4/4 stat line things. So Han is one of the matchups that are really okay. In round 6, I would be playing versus Anakin. In this matchup, the key point is initiative. If I have initiative, I think I can win like a big percentage of games. But if I don't, it can be really problematic because with a 2/4 stat, he can kill every single one of my turn 1 plays, which can be really problematic. Then game 7, that was on stream. It was extremely short. I didn't have an answer for Chewbacca in both games, and I lost to Pilot in Space. This is a really bad matchup before the sideboard, and is, I think, kinda good after, because most of the sideboard in this deck is to handle pilots. And then it was the next day, so top 16. I had a rematch versus Jacob and his Talzin. He adjusted. He won game 1. And game 2, he left me on 2 HP, and luckily for me, he didn't top deck Devastator or Ruthless. If the next turn, I've managed to lock Devastators with Governor and heal up, and game 3, I managed to get early advantage. I never let it down. And sadly, around 9, I was paired up versus Chancellor Palpatine, and this is an unwinnable matchup. It's not only, his list was not only really greedy, he also had a lot of cards like Force Throw of color that versus most decks it is not that good, but specifically versus my deck it was really problematic. So I couldn't really play a long game. I tried to win with going really early into phase. The 2-mana upgrade that captures was a key in game 2. So I blocked his ability to flip, but sadly, with the amount of card draw that his deck had, he managed to find double blast. I didn't find my Governor to block it, and I lost to 0. It in the end put me on 5th place because I had one of the best standings before. I was 3rd after Swiss, and the tournament was then won by Han to Blue. But as you can see, the spread of top leaders were really wide. And as I said, the tournament was amazing. You can still watch the VOD for all the games, and also there is an interview with me after my defeat. And lastly, I want to talk about what we are doing recently. So the Patreon, I want to really thank everybody who supported us. We try to put as much value for you as possible. This week, SIP wrote a really comprehensive guide on how to beat Boba Data Vault. I think it's a great value. We put it for free. You just need to join us on Patreon as a free tier. You will have access to this guide. There is also 2 other guides already written on that are locked after one of the tiers. But the community is growing. We are extremely happy how it turns out, and we are so glad for everybody that wants to support us. Okay, thanks everybody. The next video we will be posting will be probably about the deck I will be playing on Katowice PQ, so it will be about Han 1 Blue. Okay, bye everybody.